What's up, everybody? This is Chris Sarai bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk about Honda as it is having major engine problems with over 1.4 million of its vehicles. Next up, we're going to head over to Massachusetts and talk about their new move over law that is supposed to be designed to help keep police officers safe. And last but not least, we're going to head over to Florida and talk about their laws that have allowed them to start chasing criminals down, but has caused more deaths than they would like. All right, so let's jump straight into it. First off, we're going to talk about Honda, and Honda is having major issues when it comes to some of their engines, and it's been a massive situation to the point where the federal government had to get involved, and they're doing an investigation on it to talk about what's going on with these failed engines over at Honda. So let's check out that story real quick. This is going to be a quick reader. 1.4 million Hondas Acuras under federal investigation for engine failure. This is from Dallas Express, and it's from Tuesday, August 26th. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has launched an investigation into more than 1.4 million Honda and Acura vehicles over defective connecting rod bearings that can cause complete engine failure. The probe targets 3.5-liter V6 engines in popular models, including the Honda Pilot, Odyssey, and Ridgeline, along with several Acura vehicles. The investigation underscores growing safety concerns about widespread engine problems that could leave drivers stranded or create hazardous situations on busy roadways. Federal regulators opened the probe on August 20th. They are focusing on the J35 V6 engine used across multiple Honda and Acura model lines. The investigation covers 2016 and 2020 Acura MDX vehicles, 2018 and 2020 Acura TLX models, 2018 and 2020 Honda Odyssey minivans, 2016 and 2020 Honda Pilot SUVs, and 2017 and 2019 Honda Ridgeline pickup trucks. The NHTSA has received at least 414 complaints involving engine failure tied to the defective connecting rod bearings. 7 incidents involved crashes or fires, but officials reported no injuries or deaths connected to the engine problems. I'll bet. The investigation represents a significant expansion beyond earlier safety actions. NHTSA previously conducted probes that led to recalls affecting 249,000 vehicles. The current action covers a much broader range of models and model years with similar defects. Federal regulators classify the investigation as a preliminary evaluation. This stage allows officials to assess the scope and severity of the safety risk. Investigators are examining whether the connecting rod bearing problems show patterns of sudden engine shutdowns that could endanger drivers and other motorists. Safety regulators are urging affected vehicle owners to watch for warning signs. These include unusual knocking sounds from the engine, unexpected stalling, or dashboard warning lights. Consumers experiencing these symptoms should seek immediate service at authorized Honda or Acura dealerships. All right, pretty straightforward situation for Honda and Acura when it comes to this. And it's just one of those things where in this situation, of course, they already said that they had already put out recalls, but it's been such a major issue with these Honda vehicles and these connecting rod bearings going out that they decided that they was going to initiate an investigation, truly try to find out why all these vehicles have these bad rod bearings and why this wasn't figured out a long time ago and taken care of a long time ago. The bigger problem, of course, is that a lot of these vehicles are fairly old in years. We're talking about 2017s, 2020s. So all these vehicles will be out of warranty, and the owners of the vehicles are not going to standardly be like, oh, well, this is probably a problem with the vehicle itself. It might be just a wear and tear problem, an issue that I just got to get fixed, and they've already probably paid to get these problems repaired, or they've already gotten rid of the vehicle when this problem occurred. Because it's a major issue. We're talking about a engine rebuild when these situations occur. So, a lot of people who own these vehicles just don't have the money to afford to have these done. And if it occurred while the vehicle was still under warranty, would you be covered, and then you can get it done by the dealership? So that's why the investigation is occurring. There's a lot of people who are getting stiff when it comes to this. A lot of people are spending large amounts of money to get their vehicles repaired because of this. And they've already established that it's an issue with Honda and Acura. and not with you and the way you drive your vehicle. So it's just one of them situations where you definitely have to be really aware of your own vehicle. Really pay attention if recalls are coming out on your vehicle. If there's specific technical service bulletins for to repair your vehicles. And when you have a problem with your vehicle, you have to do as much research as possible to establish if that problem is something that you should be paying for, if it's a problem with the vehicle itself, should it be covered under warranty, and if you should be fighting to get the dealership or the automaker to get this repair done instead of spending your own hard-earned money. So, hopefully, because this is going to affect a lot of Honda, owners and Acura owners. I think my sister owns an Acura MDX, so I might give her a call after I get done doing this. But it's just one of those things that you definitely have to do research about your vehicle, find out what's going on with your vehicles, and just stay on top of things. And when you have a major problem such as an engine problem in your vehicle, a transmission problem, those problems aren't standardly wear and tear issues. That's more about your brakes and your tires, and you making sure your oil changes are done. But if you have a major issue in your engine, your transmission, after you have that, you should, do some investigation. Find out if it's really you or if it was the company's problem that should be taken care of by you or the company. All right, so let's move into this police situation stuff. So first off, we're going to talk about Massachusetts State. And, and it's been one of those things where, of course, when people, specifically on the highways, when people are, getting pulled over, and there's police dealing with people on the highways and that are getting pulled over, it's always polite and considerate for you to move over and to avoid that, lane that's closest to where the pullover and the police officer is, to avoid them getting hurt or, getting into an accident, or, if you're speeding, just something up flying and hitting somebody. So, well, Massachusetts decided that it is going to do a massive move over law situation because they've had major problems when it comes to this type of thing where people are losing their lives. So let's check out this story about how they've decided they're going to handle this new move over law to make sure that people are obeying that law and keeping police officers safe.
It's going to be a busy weekend on the roads across Massachusetts, and you're likely to see more state police. Troopers are kicking off a new enforcement campaign to make sure people move over when they see troopers or emergency officials on the side of the highway.
If you see flashing lights, move over. Move over. Move over.
Move over.
Move over.
Move over.
It's the law here in Massachusetts.
Move over law requires that drivers slow down and shift lanes when they come up to a police officer, a firefighter, first responder, even a tow truck driver stopped on the highway. Earlier this year, a MassDOT worker was killed when he was hit by a car at a work site. AAA says 2 tow truck drivers were killed in New York and New Jersey in recent months. Trooper Sean Clark was hit by a car out in Chicopee back in June and survived, but has had a very long road to recovery. He spoke this week about the importance of this law.
In the early stages of my recovery, I spent time in the hospital where I spent a lot of time thinking about how close I came to never seeing my wife or my kids again. That's why this law matters. Because behind every person you see in uniform is a family waiting for us to come home.
Extra enforcement on state highways will run through Tuesday. Now, if you're stopped for violating the move over law, you could get a $100 fine and have points added to your driving record.
So I talk about this a lot. I'm an avid fan of the, Live PD and OPL and those shows like that. So I always believed that it was very important for you to pull over away from, police officers when they had somebody pulled over. I've seen lots and lots of cases where accidents have happened because police officers on the side of the road. Lots of those cases, pretty much drunk drivers just smash into those people or not paying attention to what's going on ahead of them, while they're driving. And it's an epidemic. So I understand the law. I understand the desire to make sure that people obey this law. And I would think that you would make the fines a little bit more hefty because we're talking about people's lives that are at risk when these things happen. So $100 seems like a low amount. I figured that the fine would be a lot more steeper. And that, of course, if you cause somebody to get hurt or killed in this situation, you're going to go to jail anyway. So, it's just one of those things that you just want to be helpful and considerate of other people when you're on the highway, specifically the police officers. They're there to help us. And, when they're in a vulnerable situation where you could kill them because you're not paying attention, then, of course, they're going to pay attention to you and they're going to throw the book at you if something like that was to happen. All right, last but not least, definitely will be a quick show today, guys. Definitely will be a quick show. So, Florida, and of course the law enforcement over in Florida have decided that they're going to make their laws about chasing criminals down in cars a little lax. So, and it seems to have caused a lot more deaths when it comes to, the traffic stops and, police chases. So we're going to check out a story about Florida as it changed that rule and how it's caused the death toll to triple when it comes to these types of incidents. So let's check that out real quickly, and then I'm going to let y'all get up out of here and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful day. All right, so this is from Car Scoops. Florida changed one rule and chase deaths tripled in just a year. Despite federal direction to reduce chases, Florida police are doubling down on the practice, and the result is fatalities that could have been avoided. And this is by Stephen Rivers 9 hours ago. These things are dangerous. People get hurt. People die. Those were the words of Sergeant Spencer Ross with the Florida Highway Patrol. His flippant attitude toward police chases and safety is drawing the ire of locals and those outside of the Sunshine State. The scrutiny comes as new data shows that fatalities have tripled since the FHP loosened its rules regarding police chases. In the past, FHP prohibited chasing a fleeing suspect unless the person was a felon or was an imminent danger to the public. Essentially, it stopped police from creating a greater threat to public safety by chasing a person. Today, that restraint is gone. Troopers are now permitted to chase anyone who attempts to flee stop, regardless of the offense. The consequences have been severe. According to T.C. Palm, that police policy has cost lives that not even the most staunch police supporter can get behind. It includes the lives of police officers and innocent bystanders alike. The statistics can be a bit misleading, but there's still nothing to scoff at. The loosening of these chase rules, fatalities jumped from 5 to 2020 to 15 in 2024. The use of pit maneuvers jumped from 100 to 286. In one case, a FHP trooper driving in oncoming traffic during a chase hit a truck driver head-on, killing both. Now the family of deceased truck driver is suing the state, claiming that the FHP officer was unsafe in his pursuit. Let's check this out.
Is live in the studio breaking down those claims. Yasmin?
Jade, it'll soon be 1 year since 26-year-old Florida Highway Patrol Trooper Zachary Fink was killed while chasing a reckless driver on I-95 in St. Lucie County.
During the pursuit, a semi-trailer collided with Fink's patrol car, killing the truck driver, Arsenio Mas, as well. Last week, we reported that the Mas family is suing both Florida Highway Patrol and Trooper Fink's estate. The suit claims that Fink drove recklessly at speeds up to 120 miles per hour and disregarded policies and procedures. Today, Fink's father, Robert Fink, who's a truck driver himself, is responding to the lawsuit.
It's assault in an open wound because my job takes me by the crash site multiple times a day, so I kind of relive that pretty much multiple times a day.
Fink's attorney is also firing back at the suit, saying that Mas was at fault for the crash.
The law is very clear in Florida. When an emergency vehicle is approaching, the law says that you have to pull over and you have to stop in order to allow them to do their job.
Florida statute says when an authorized emergency vehicle is giving audible signals, the driver of every other vehicle should yield the right of way to the emergency vehicle and should pull as close as reasonable to the curb, stopping until the emergency vehicle has passed. The crash report says Mas moved into the inside lane when he saw the lights from Fink's patrol car. The suspect, who was fleeing from Fink, made a U-turn and drove northbound in the southbound lanes, and Fink followed. Mas's semi-trailer struck Fink's patrol car, pushing it into a guardrail. Fink was pronounced dead at the hospital. Mas was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected. He was pronounced dead at the scene. I looked into Florida Highway Patrol's chase policy, which was initially issued in 1996. It was revised on March 19th of last year. just a few weeks after Fink's death. Two of the procedures listed for pursuits say, quote, members may drive on the wrong side of the roadway, in the wrong direction, or on the shoulder for the purpose of immobilizing an immediate threat to the public. It also says that members should avoid contributing to the danger that has already been created by the fleeing violator or other hazardous situations when in emergency response. Fink's lawyer says his next move in the courtroom is to dismiss Moss's family's complaint.
If the court allows the case to proceed forward, I intend to make a counterclaim against Mr. Moss's estate for killing Trooper Fink.
Damn.
Last week, Moss's daughter told us she's, quote, not proud of filing a lawsuit, but that it'll help to achieve the things that he wanted for the family. In the studio, Yasmin Julmus, WPBF 25 News.
Let's finish reading this story and I'll let y'all get up out of here. The data just proves that what they're doing is not safe, said Roy Taylor, a national police procedure expert and former chief of police in Jackson County, North Carolina. If you're going against what the nationally recognized police organizations are recommending, that's a problem. Taylor is referring to countless guidelines from all of the U.S. that say chases should be used only in the rarest of occasions. The Department of Justice has issued similar guidance and even told police agencies not to pit vehicles at over 40 miles per hour due to the safety concern that it poses to everyone on the road. Law enforcement organizations also say that alternative methods need to be used more. Those are options like aviation patrol, arrest the suspect at a later time, and leveraging tools like Star Chase. At the end of the day, there's no perfect solution here. Police have a tough job, and catching some criminals who run is sincerely in the best interest of public safety. Scofflaws who knows that officers won't chase are even more emboldened to commit crimes. Which is the problem for me altogether, is that, I believe that police officers should be allowed to trace criminals. I don't believe that, because, all right, I understand that, you don't have to chase criminals at all situations, but I do believe that police officers have the ability to chase criminals. Now, I say this all the time. I watch a lot of OPL, a lot of Live PD. I've seen a lot of police chases where, the police are all over the place. So, I do say that there's probably some cases, depending on like highways and the crowdedness of highways or even the crowdedness of city streets, and which would cause, imminent danger to those people that are on those streets and highways. I would say in those situations, depending on the situation, you might want to pull back and just, copy the person's driver's license or, put a chopper overhead so they can follow the person, see where they go, so you can interact with that person later. I think that would make the situation a lot easier, but I would not sit here and say that police officers stop chasing criminals. I think that the idea that we're just going to up and stop chasing criminals all over the world is going to really embolden criminals to do lots of more criminal activity, and at the end of it to run in their cars and jeopardize more lives. So I think that if you allow police officers to chase criminals, to catch criminals, then the idea would be that would tell other criminals that even if you commit a crime and didn't run in your car, they're going to chase you down and they're going to catch you. Now I understand the situation where people have lost their lives and because police officers are in these chases, and that is a horrible thing, and I want to avoid that as much as possible. And I would say that for us to try to avoid that, probably the best route would be to cut down on chasing people that steal from Target or steal from Walmart or things of that nature. If you're chasing somebody because of something more serious, which is what they're saying, if you're going to chase somebody for something serious, then go ahead and chase them. If it's something super duper minor, I don't want you to risk the lives of other people on the roads because this dude sold, $50 worth of stuff from Walmart. It's just not worth it. So, it's just one of those things where we want to embolden the police to have the ability to chase and catch these criminals, but in certain situations, we should be able to avoid them, getting into these chases that would cause undue death and harm to other people. And that's just the way it should be. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. Truly a short show, but it's a beautiful day in Florida. In California. We're in California. And we're going to enjoy it. We'll be in Florida next week. All right, guys. I am your host, Chris Surratt. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in DMs if you have any questions. Hit me in DMs if you have any ideas on making the show better. And I'm out. Peace.